So we have had the Forbidden Door finally. AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, putting on a pay-per-view in Chicago on Sunday. It was actually a really good pay-per-view. To help me recap all of it, he helped me do a podcast only preview on Saturday, and I asked him to come back. Sure enough, he has. So we go to the Vaqueros Cafe and Cantina hotline to bring back the host of the Big Audio Nightmare, the host of the Mid-Atlantic Championship podcast, and you hear him every day on Wrestling Observer Live with Brian Alvarez. And I'll say it again, the voice of reason for that very program. He is Mike Sempervive. Follow him on Twitter at Sempervive. All right, Mike, give me your overall grade, A to F. Give me your overall grade for AEW in New Japan Pro Wrestling Forbidden Door.
I would say it's an A. I'd say, you know what? If it's not an A, it's a B plus that's trending upward. Because as we talked about in the preview, because of politics, because of injuries, because they haven't been working together, there was a very negative relationship when AEW first started. This was a first step. And I thought, as far as a first step goes, flying colors.
Yeah.
Despite the build-up, despite all that other stuff, and we talked about it when Sunday night got over with, how will people be feeling? And I think for the most part, unless they're just picking nits, it's pretty good. So I'm giving them the A myself.
I agree. So it was, and I'll tell you what, and tell me if you agree with this. It felt like this pay-per-view maybe went smoother or faster than, say, Double or Nothing. It felt like it just flowed a whole lot better than Double or Nothing. What do you think?
I kind of got that feeling too, and I don't know. I didn't watch it live. I watched it after the fact, but it felt like it just went smooth sailing. And I thought the announcers, I just thought the whole show, there were no production hiccups that I recall. The way that they cycled in announcers throughout the night, I thought that went. If you told me that on paper, because look, you do play-by-play for a lot of people, and I'm not sure if you're of this opinion. More than two people in a booth can be very difficult.
Oh yeah,
it's difficult on a radio show.
Yeah,
let alone when you're trying to do your job on paper. Look, and there are times where it works perfectly, and I thought last night was a good example of JR. I'm sure a lot of people were just okay, how's it going to be? There's a history there. I thought it couldn't have went any better. And it was almost like a joke. They were bringing him out before Ospreay and Orange, and it's just like, but it was perfect. He was perfect to help hype that match and to help enhance that match. And I thought Kevin Kelly, with his style, was great throughout. I thought that, Excalibur and Taz obviously always have a good time. So I thought the show as a whole, and especially because there was so much ruckus leading into the week, it's one of those things sometimes where it's like, you know what else could go wrong? We did a pre-show thinking, well, we're almost out of time here, and damned if Hiromu gets to the airport, he can't even make it. There was another wrench thrown in. It's just like, it was almost like by the time the show started, I'm sure there was a whole cosmic, and look at the talent that's there. There's got to be some sort of cosmic cloud around them that just went, okay, we're going to clear out now.
Yeah.
We gave you all of this stress leading into this thing. It's been torture. Now the athletes are going to go out there and wrestle. Left up to their devices, that's what they did. So I think it was a lot of the buildup that was there was such a black cloud in some ways leading into the thing. How could it not have been better? And I think some of that heavy feeling just made it that much lighter springing out of the thing.
I couldn't agree more with the announcers. Look, I'm a huge Kevin Kelly fan. I think he does a fantastic job doing the English commentary for NJPW World. And when he used to do it for Ring of Honor, of course, Jim Ross, I followed him all the way back from Mid-South Wrestling. And I thought that, the chemistry And as you mentioned, mixing him in with Tony Schiavone, with Jim Ross, with Caprice Coleman from the ROH commentary team. It felt seamless. It felt like, kind of just tag in and we just keep going. And it was good. It was really good. And like you said, it felt like finally got to the actual wrestling. And, other than a couple of injuries, which, we'll talk about here in a second, it felt like, okay, we're finally here. Let's have fun. The buy-in matches, they were what they were. They served up as here's an example of what you might see by the pay-per-view. And with Goto and Yoshihashi getting the win over the Factory, and Lance Archer kind of saying, hey, by the way, I'm going to be in the G1, so make sure you follow me, getting the win over Nick Camarato. You had Swerving Our Glory defeating El Desperado and Kanemaru. And then the Gun Club and Max Caster, which ended up just being Billy Gunn and Max Caster, taking out the LA Dojo guys. So for a pre-show, I thought it did its job.
I actually thought it did more than that, because I was kind of downplaying it when we did our preview. But one of the great things that AEW has going for it are these big show fans. And at some point, odds are it'll waver some. But for right now, as soon as they get in that building, they are hyped to be there. They are proud of their company. They want to hype their company. They want to hype everybody that's on it. They want to be part of the show, all that sort of stuff. And I think that energy that's in that building, even if and again, I still think that almost everybody that was watching that show at that point, like, if you were going to watch the BET Awards or whatever it was going to be, like, you had made that decision. And I still think for the most part, most people did. But if you happen to be one of those stragglers that happened to be on the fence or stumbled upon the thing, and you see that energy, you see that electricity, and you don't know who the hell Desperado is, but you're seeing this guy move in the ring, and I thought it worked. And the addition of Archer and Camarato, I thought was really interesting, because I thought it was a good thing to have the popular American coming back, where he's been a star, where he's going to be in the G1. He gets a victory on this show where you're working with New Japan. And not only that, it gives New Japan and their fans a chance to see Nick Camarato, who I'm not saying would be a bigger star in Japan, but I am saying that in AEW, and seeing his skill set and everything, it's like, you take him over to Japan and let him be a beast. And we've seen a lot of guys. Look, how many big guys have we seen that would never get over here have gotten over there, whether it be Scott Norton or Lance Archer or name it. Rosie was with All Japan. I know it was a little bit of a different story, but there's person after person. He seems like he would be a good fit. So the addition of him on that, again, I thought that whole thing went better than I thought it was going to be. Not that I had any negative expectations, but I thought it was a very good. And you see the crowd reacting to QT. Now, you can't get that everywhere, but you can get it on a big show like that made that match that much better. So,
yeah. Oh, I agree. The 6-man match with Jericho and Sammy Guevara and Suzuki taking on Kingston, Yuta, and Umino. I thought that was a great showcase for Umino of all of them, because he seems like the youngest guy. He's kind of getting out on his own now. Of course, they reminded everybody about Jericho attacking him when he came to in defense of his father, Red Shoes, during a New Japan special. And so Umino kind of getting that comeuppance, getting that vengeance on Chris Jericho. All in all, it was a fun match. It served the purpose of giving the Jericho Appreciation Society the one-man advantage at Blood and Guts coming up Wednesday night. It seemed like a good way to open up the pay-per-view.
I thought it was, and you can see why Shota Umino, what they see in him because of that fire that he has. And he is, obviously we'll talk about Clark Connors a little bit later on, but you can see where, again, they treat and they drill those basics so much into these guys that they are so, for the most part, so fundamentally sound. And he's been over in England. To me, it was a little bit of a surprise when they sent him to Pro Wrestling Revolution over, or yeah, I think that's where it was over there. And he goes over there, and it's like, man, I wish he would have been here. But I can understand why they did want to send him over there. But now it looks like he's going to be here more, and or at least back and forth between Japan and the States more. And when everything opens up a little bit, and again, the G1's got to go by. His time in Japan is not now, but him creating a name for himself and carving it out more, which he looks like he's going to do since he got hit with a fireball by Chris Jericho later. That's one of those matches that, could we see that at the Tokyo Dome coming up at the beginning of the year, where finally, in a match where Chris Jericho makes sure that Shota Umino's father, Red Shoes, is not going to be the referee, that we see him finally get his comeuppance? Because there's a zillion stories now you can tell, coming out of that. And obviously the one that matters the most is coming up on Wednesday with Blood and Guts. But I thought that was a hell of a way to start the show. It didn't drag on for too long or anything like that. I thought it was perfect.
It really was. The three-way tag match. Now, so when Dax rolls out of the ring, and you got Doc Samson and those guys checking on him, and then they take him to the back. And of course, first thought that comes to mind, oh my God, the curse of the Forbidden Door has continued into the card. And then a few minutes later, here he comes. He's making the triumphant return, makes the hot tag, and back and forth. And then they hit the big rig. FTR not only retain the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles, now they hold the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team titles. And I watched the media scrum afterwards with them and Tony Khan. And you give me your thoughts, but listening to them on the post-show media scrum, if anything, that made you want to root for them harder because of their love of wrestling, their desire. They want to go to Japan. They want to defend those titles in Japan. Of course, now they want the AEW tag titles. But I mean, this was a night for FTR, right?
It continues to be. I mean, the only thing was they showed him going to the back.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the only thing that was like, okay. And then he goes out there and he does his best impression of Willis Reed dragging his leg out there at the Garden for the finals. But, and then he goes, and look, Dax Harwood's great. And I thought Cash, this was another, again, Dax is going to get most of the attention, but Cash taking most of that match and selling the whole time. And I mean, we've seen this in old school wrestling a long time. Somebody they gave Ricky Morton the Widowbreaker at the beginning, the Midnight Express, and then he comes limping out there later. And I think Eaton and Lane did this when they were baby faces. They had a situation like this. I'm almost positive of it, but it's just old school 101 that they're so great at. And I didn't see the post show, but I can imagine what they said because I've heard so much of them. And I know the love that they have and how seriously they take the team and how they take wrestling history and in the prism that they're looking at it. I completely understand that. So them going to Japan, I'm sure that was on their dance card leaving WWE, that they want to go and not only appear and wrestle in Japan, but be fighting for the IWGP tag team titles. It's like Bryan Danielson. A lot of people go, yeah, you've been everywhere around the world, but I haven't been to Arena Mexico. Well, what's the big deal? Because I haven't been to Arena Mexico. And that's the same thing with FTR and going to Japan. So I'm thrilled for them that they're going to have a chance to do that. I think rematches with Okan and Jeff Cobb, I think would be great. Seeing them obviously, 2-on-2, how the Young Bucks play into this and how exactly the time frame is going to work for everything, I don't know. But I can see as early as this G1 tour that, FTR, even with all of those belts, could spare a little time and maybe go over there and heat some stuff up with some teams over there and get in the mix. I think that would be great.
I think so. One of the things I noticed too, and I don't know if you've seen post shows in the past for these pay-per-views. Tony Khan, it's like
he makes caffeine nervous. Yes.
Huh?
He makes caffeine nervous. He does.
That not just that, but he has. I mean, I don't know if it's it seems genuine. I mean, I've been around the man a couple times. The admiration, I'll say, and the respect he has for his wrestlers. Every post show after someone, whether it's Punk or Danielson or Moxley or FTR or Thunder Rosa, they'll come up, they'll do their bit, their few minutes, in front of the media, and then when they're getting ready to leave, Tony is, big hug and thanking him and stuff like that. Is it? I don't know how to. I don't know what. I mean,
the Bill Watson like, he was coming out. The Bill Watson he was definitely coming out right now. I think a little.
It's
bit
a little.
Here.
Well, it just. But at the same time, I love seeing it.
Yeah,
and I think I of course you kind of try to I don't imagine Vince doing this.
Oh no, not like that. Not like that. He's done it. I mean, there are plenty of cases where they've come back through. Somebody's come back through a gorilla, and he's there. Oh God, pal, or whatever. So it absolutely, it's an emotional business. I mean, it's built on emotion with emotional, different people that are all over it. And would I suggest this because I think there should be a line? Like, if he was just a promoter, if he's Bob Arum, Don King, like I would. No problem all day. As a booker, as an owner, as I think, but that's just how he is. There's just some people, Dick Vermeil as a head coach. I mean, he'd cry at the drop of a hat. I can understand that, being an emotional guy. I get it. Is there probably a balance? Yes. Am I as emotional as Tony? Not like that, but I'm not wired like Tony. He is he is all over the place all the time, and he's going, and I could see when this thing's over, and man, because I saw the little clip of him giving Okada a hug, and then he's giving Cesaro a hug. I said, oh, it was that kind of press conference afterwards. So he was obviously all in his field. He's a promoter, and I know sometimes he's cringeworthy, but he's a promoter. Yeah. And that's, I think sometimes when people get really upset with the announcement gig and everything, and I get it, but it's like, also take a second to look at this, step outside the box of you being annoyed by this guy or whatever it is. And it's like, that's his job. That's his job, is to try to do all of this. And he's got a completely different style than Vince, but it makes it fun. It makes it different. So, again, it may make it annoying for some people too, but it gives everybody something to talk about, because they certainly do.
Well, I thought it was really neat. And like I said, I want to believe it's genuine. I want to believe that, Tony really feels that way. And as I said, I've been around him a couple times.
It's creepy. It's not even fake. It would be creepy if he didn't, if that was the case, because then it's like, why, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? Right. It's like, and again, with Martha Hart out there on after the tournaments, that was a completely different, I get it. And that was a completely different type of thing. And again, but it was all, it all comes back down to emotion. Yeah. And does he show it too much sometimes? Yes, but that's Tony.
That's okay. I don't mind it. I got to interview him when I was in Los Angeles for the Super Bowl, and you could tell it even then. He's energy just to spare. And I mean, if I had 10% of his energy, man, I'd be doing well. All right. Sting. 63-year-old Sting.
Best.
And he is standing on top of the entryway, jumping off of it and doing the splash onto the bad guys. And then he no sells the super kick and beats his chest. I mean, and I'm on my couch and I am absolutely, I'm loving it. I'm cheering. I am just fist bumping because dadgummit, it's the icon. I mean, I think I saw something where, Sting mentioned how much he enjoys that AEW pays respect to legends. And oh my God, they have given him that and more. And I gotta think Sting is having, it's almost like a renaissance of his career at 63 years old.
And this is great comeuppance for a lot of people because I am obviously because of I've seen his whole career. I didn't see that little bit of time in Memphis, but from the time he and the Ultimate Warrior ended up in Mid-South as the Blade Runners with Eddie Gilbert, I've watched them, and him and Rick Steiner were two of my favorites when they were there. And then the whole package goes over to WCW, and they're not with each other for a while, but you still see Sting grow and the great match at the Clash in '88, and then he gets back with all those guys, and we get that time in '89 where it's Sting and Muta, and just he's great. And he's not all of Famer, he's not this, he's not that, and it's like, man. And then all that time goes by, he never goes to WWE, so he never gets that any icing that could be put on that cake, and it looks like he's just going to go away, but he doesn't. He goes to Impact. And he's the best thing on that show anytime he's on that show doing whatever it is that he was doing, and just showed why he was great. And he helped out a bunch of people and was just genuinely a good guy, but he still was not getting his flowers. And then he goes for WrestleMania, and it looks like he kind of gets them. They make the deal with the video game or however it is so he can, that door opens up. They honor him, but then they beat him at WrestleMania, and it's like, you knew what they were going to do there. But still, for a guy like me, Sting still hasn't gotten his flowers yet. There comes AEW along. And however this whole thing, I remember him and Darby Allin, but damn it, it's the minute I saw it in action, it worked. Yeah. And it's been great ever since. To me, it's been great ever since. Everything they've done has been great because I believe everything Darby's doing is going to hurt or kill either him or his opponent. And Sting is amazing, and why he's doing this to his body, I don't know, but it's like magic. It's like watching a unicorn shoot through the sky, watching Sting jump on people at 63 years old after all these years, and to hear those people and to see the reaction. So all my fandom in wrestling, there you go. It's like it's all been justified, and Sting really is now the legend. Look, Hulk Hogan is always going to be Hulk Hogan, but you know how this generation has been. And it's like the Stings and the Bret Harts, and there's a lot of people whose names have slid up the scale as maybe the Shawns and the Hulks and some other people have dropped. It's fantastic. It's fabulous. I just don't want to see the guy get hurt, but anything Sting's going to do, you got my money. I'm in.
I'm with you. And I'm the same as you. I've watched him. I remember when the Blade Runners came in. I saw them live in Longview, Texas. I mean, and to see his career all the way through there, and I'm still pissed that Triple H got that win at WrestleMania and everything, but dadgummit, he is so good. By the way, Moxley during post-show media scrum, he fantasy booked. He wants the 6-man with Darby, Sting, and Muta. Now, that would I think that would be fantastic.
When they announced those matches for Great Muta in Japan, they said he was going to have 5 left. They said nothing else about the rest of the world. This retirement tour, I can see him showing up Nashville weekend.
Yeah.
I don't know if he will, but I could see him showing up Nashville weekend because he can have a smoke and mirrors match with Ric Flair. that could be really fun, and you could get Sting involved. But obviously too, AEW, how can you not do that? I don't know. And you got to do it before the year is out because, again, I mean, I don't know if people really realize that Keiji Muto, a lot of times he would come to America and you'd see him on Nitro or you'd see him on this or that is because he was going to the Mayo Clinic to try to keep his knees together. And after all, I mean, this is now we're talking 25 years later, his hip went out in a match, which I don't mean to laugh, but we've been talking as somebody that covers Japanese wrestling. I had a problem with him and Noah, and some of it has been, is he going to put over Kiyomiya, who's their big star, and he didn't in the time that he was there, but it was like he's too old for this, and damned if the son of a bitch didn't break a hip in a match. So
Right.
so it's but still, for one more with Muda, with Darby Allin, with Sting, how can you not do that? To me, it's you got to do it. It's promotional malpractice if you can't pull something like that off.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Will Ospreay, Orange Cassidy, I think that match exceeded a lot of people's expectations. Post match, you have the run in, the beat down, and then here comes, of all people, Katsuyori Shibata. And he wrecks house and has the moment with Orange. I mean, in the crowd in Chicago, they popped for him almost as much as they popped for Okada.
Yeah, and that was because of that surprise.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there were some people that were hoping, had a rabbit's foot in their back pocket about Kenny Omega, and I'm sure they knew that too. And I'm not saying that's why they did this with Shibata. I think you just do anything with Shibata because you can. And if the opportunity presents itself, you're going to go ahead and take it. But I tell you, if there was anybody that was kind of hoping Omega would be back, I think that with Shibata coming out and doing some things really kind of salve that wound, I would think. It's just incredible to see him there. And for a lot of people who may not know, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Katsuyori Shibata were supposed to be the next generation that took New Japan up and over to a new level. They were the new Three Musketeers. They were the new Great Muta, Masahiro Chono, and Shinya Hashimoto, who was not a big star in America, was the biggest star of the three making money in Japan. So they were going to be that next group. And for Shibata to leave and come back the way he did, for his career to tragically end almost Shakespearean-like, in the way that it did, but then to have this revival of being able to do maybe too much like what happened at the Tokyo Dome show that he wasn't supposed to do. But when he's able to do something like this, it's always magic. And I think that was absolutely awesome. And I thought Will Ospreay, Orange Cassidy is polarizing. If you don't like his matches, you don't like his matches. We can't argue that. I completely understand where people are coming from. I find him to be entertaining in the right doses and spots. I would have taken anybody else, let me rephrase that. I would have taken a different match for Will Ospreay, but Will Ospreay was the perfect opponent for Orange Cassidy because he's so physically gifted. Will Ospreay is, and Cassidy is too, but because of how Ospreay can work, because he can do the goofy facials, because he is such a physical, he can make things look really good. He made Orange, again, to me, it was just a perfect match to have together, the right match to have. Did it really help Ospreay? No, but it got to actually, in a way, I guess maybe it did for those people who never got to see him before and see this range that he can show. But the match to me delivered. It was really good, and they were very well matched.
Yeah, I agree. Pac comes out with the All Atlantic Championship. The match was, again, I think it was better than most people expected for a title that, we talked about on the preview. They don't need another singles title. But I'll be honest. I was surprised that Pac won. Where do you see Pac going as the All Atlantic champion? What feuds that will we see now? Will he go back and work Malachi Black? Could we see somebody else enter the picture?
I absolutely think we could see Malachi Black. I guess it really just all depends on how they want to treat that title. Will it be something that when he has it, if it basically is feud driven, and it is faction driven, where he's still messing with Malachi, and okay, well, Buddy wants a shot, we're going to do this, and Big Brody wants a shot, or is it going to be, nope, Pac's got to have a rotating thing of challengers, even if he's got a regular opponent that he's, bucking with, how's it going to be? And again, that we'll see. The TBS title has taken on, or the TNT title has taken on some different forms depending on who's taking it. For Cody, it was like, the John Cena Open Challenge sort of thing, or really, I mean, what Tully Blanchard used to do with the TV title, new guy each week sort of thing, which they were able to introduce guys that way. So there's a lot of different ways they can go. I have no idea. I could see it being the traveling title. Would that be the right word? Yeah, I guess the traveling title where Pac's going to go to Japan. Pac, you're going to see that belt in AAA if you don't see any other AEW title defended outside the country, or maybe you see it defended at random times. I think it's going to be that. To me, makes sense. That way he can go home when he needs to. If he's wrestling shows there again with Revolution or whoever it is, again, you can defend it over there against somebody who's an up and comer or something. You have options. So I could see that maybe being the case where they give it the international flair just so they can put it on somebody like an Andrade who can leave the country, or put it on a down the line, say a Shota Umino or somebody like that who can leave the country. There's options. I have no idea what they're going to do though.
Yeah, I get you. Thunder Rosa successfully defending against Toni Storm. Another good match. Thunder Rosa continuing this title reign of hers. And at the same time, it felt like this didn't feel like Toni Storm getting knocked down to the bottom of the list. It felt like it was just a matter of, Thunder Rosa made one less mistake, and it still made Toni Storm still feels strong. Could we see them run this back? I probably not at all out, but maybe Full Gear, or maybe even sometime in 2023.
Yeah, it's tough because I know Rose is going to be going over working Tokyo Joshi Pro. I still think Toni Storm, and I don't know where things stand with any relationship with Stardom, but boy, I'd like to see her back over there. She would fit really well, and she was very good while she was there. I don't know, because you got Britt Baker not in the mix then that way. If she's going to get the next shot, I would like to see it run back. I just don't think it's going to be, at least not now. And maybe when it is run back, there's no title involved, because there's so many women there that I wonder, again, and Toni Strong, there's a lot of things you can do. Ruby Soho, again, she drifts away for a while, and is it time for her to drift back in again? So I just think it's a numbers game. Could Toni work with, could Toni work with, for the TBS title with Jade? But it's just Jade and everybody is such a weird matchup, and there's a handful of women that I just don't want to see feud with Jade right now at this point in Jade's career, and she would be one of them. I just don't think that benefits. It can only benefit Jade, I mean, that's for sure, but Toni going and losing, it doesn't. Toni going and winning, that's going to hurt Jade, and telling that whole story and the streak and all that. So it's just a tough spot. And that's kind of another reason I would like to see those doors open to Japan more, because, again, obviously for some of the talent coming back this way, but also so some of these women, like a lot of the guys on this roster, can get some work. That's why Ring of Honor coming back will be a good thing. So, again, that's a story for a different day, but, hopefully the doors come down for the women too.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Toni Storm going to Stardom would be really good for her, and get her a little more, and then have her come back, and then revive some feuds. I get that. So we had the worst kept secret, the one we were talking about. Zack Sabre Jr. comes out, and then the music hits. Here comes Claudio Castagnoli, the former Cesaro. Again, huge pop, I think. And it was one of those where I think the crowd expected it, but they were relieved. I think it was as much excitement as it was relief, because they didn't want, they didn't want somebody else. Hell of a match, of course. Claudio gets the victory. And he's now part of Blackpool Combat Club, and he's going to be part of Blood and Guts. Claudio is going to have so many rivals in AEW now. It's going to be fun to watch him go through the ranks.
He's just so great at everything, and maybe I'm too deep in the tank for him. I could never figure out what WWE couldn't understand about the guy. And will every response to him be like it was last night with him walking out there and all those, people losing their mind and treating him like it was the main event of WrestleMania, and him, you could see him feeling like this was his main event walking out there at WrestleMania, the way it probably could have been for a guy like him. Even if he's on the losing end of things in a WrestleMania, I mean, my God, he probably could have been given a better shot. But he was given a lot of money in a good position for a long time, so I don't tear up for the person that used to be named Cesaro. But Claudio Castagnoli is so technically sound. He's so damn strong. He's so everything. He's got so much experience. He's got so much on the ball. So his addition, it helps in so many ways, I think, for that company. If he's going to be full-time, I don't know what his contract is exactly, but whatever it is, one of the bigger things that has not been talked about, but is a great benefit, is it helps to spell Brian Danielson even more. Because yes, we would all probably want Brian Danielson back, but the concussions and everything else. So having Cesaro there, and Cesaro in Kingston, and Cesaro and Moxley, and Cesaro in whatever it's going to be, teaming with somebody, feuding against somebody. The man is a 100% professional, and he's one of those people that you're not going to take him with your number one pick, but damn it, you need guys like that on the team, and him being there, again, I don't see how this is a bad thing.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. He's going. You got Tony Khan announced Ring of Honor coming back for a pay-per-view with Death for Dishonor in July. I think we could see Claudio showing up in Lowell, Mass. I personally, just being the geek, I'd love to see him and Chris Hero come back as the Kings of Wrestling for like a one night only type deal. That'd be awesome. Let's get to the two world title matches. First, the IWGP World Heavyweight title. It was, I mean, for what it was a really good match. Now, I'm pretty sure nobody expected Jay White to lose the title, but to if for no other reason than to see Kazuchika Okada in an AEW ring in America, that by itself was probably worth having that match on the pay-per-view.
Yeah. And there will be a story told, who knows, maybe as soon as this week's Wrestling Observer newsletter, on how Okada was put into this match. And that main event, that match has taken apparently several forms, because of injury, because of this or that. So his wife is pregnant, her birthday, I guess, was coming up. There were, reasons, that he was not going to be on this show, or they couldn't pull the trigger on announcing him for this, but as a late addition, he's a star. He's one of the biggest stars in the world. He's one of the best wrestlers in the world. He's got an incredible presence. There's no one he can't work with. He's absolutely great. I saw him have a match against Minoru Suzuki. He had them, or Genshiro Tenryu, had the match by himself, basically. Pile drove and power bombed himself. That's how rickety he was. It was incredible, but that's how great Okada is. And I was a little surprised he took the fall. I think as we talked about, I didn't think it would be Adam Page, but I thought maybe Adam Cole would be the one. And ultimately that did end up, happening there. But Okada, it'll be interesting. It's going to be interesting. The G1 part of things is going to be really interesting to me to see, now that he has technically got an L with Jay White again, how they decide to build he and that story. For people who had never seen him before, I think he showed something. For people who had really never seen Jay White before on a grand stage, again, the four-way match is somewhat limiting in that way as far as the ability to really take over and show off. But I thought, again, they did it both the best that they can. Best wishes to Adam Cole. I don't know exactly when he got hurt or what went south there, but he's been banged up for a while. Hopefully, he takes this time to heal up every part of his body that needs to be healed up, especially his head, because two concussions in a short period of time. We talked about Observer Live today. I didn't really even think about that, but it's like, damn, he has. That's not good.
No.
So, again, real good match. It could have been better one-on-ones and almost with all of these guys in one-on-one situations, the match would have been even better, but I get why they did it. Jay White holds on to it. There's plenty of stories still to be told.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if maybe Adam Cole getting hurt on that in that match. I wonder if that led to the eventual finish of White pinning Okada. Maybe Cole was supposed to take the pin. We won't know. But yeah, as you said, best wishes to Adam Cole. He's as much as people want to whatever in the ring, outside the ring, one of the nicest guys. I got a chance to visit with him when they were here in the Austin area a few months ago, and just a great guy. And so wishing all the best to Adam Cole. And then the main event, the interim AEW World Championship, Jon Moxley, Hiroshi Tanahashi. This felt like a love letter. It felt like this was, they've been clamoring for this match. Mox has been clamoring for this match for 3 years. They finally get it. Tanahashi, I'm gonna call him the ageless wonder, because I don't think anybody knows how old he actually is. I know he's up there, but at the same time, he is, just like we mentioned with Okada, he is still the ace. He is still a huge star. And I think Moxley gave him the respect that he deserved during that match. Just talk for a second about that match and the eventual match that we will see with Moxley and CM Punk.
I thought it was another perfect yin yang, different than Osprey and Orange Cassidy, but in the same sort of way where Tanahashi in these big matches is so good, and he's so athletic, and he's so amazing. And in Japan, unfortunately, because of time and because of all the years that he's put in there, yes, he is a legendary figure. He is on everyone's, again, unless you go back a certain period of time. I mean, Tanahashi's an all-time great and has proven that over there time and again. But unfortunately, because of the Ibushis of the world, the Naitos, the Shingos, the guys who are a little bit younger, it is their time more now. Tanahashi's not exactly at that level anymore. But when he comes to America and faces Jon Moxley, who's got such a distinct style that he's going to wrestle, he's going to punch you, he's going to kick you, there's going to be headbutts, there's going to be sometimes limbs just a flapping and a waving and whatnot, and there's all that. But it's a good balance for Tanahashi, who doesn't have to put in all that athleticism as much. Obviously he's a great athlete. My God, look at the guy. But then with Moxley, again, the fit works perfectly. And I thought it was perfect last night. And I don't believe for a second that headbutt was hard way and that Moxley didn't go out there and bust his own head open. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I thought it, again, was it an enhancer? Yeah, it was, because I'm old and I like Pro Wrestling Illustrated covers. But I thought it was great. And I thought Tanahashi was great. You're right. Moxley did show him all the respect in the world. And Tanahashi did everything he could. There were some times he was a little bit mechanical because of how banged up he is. And he's a little stiff. But you could see why he was such a great star. And you can see why he still is, because of the presence. And that's the thing, is he could do even less than he does. much like a Sting, and just there's this aura off this superstar. He knows he's a superstar. He's a gilded, he's almost literally, when you look at him, a gilded figure. And I think Okada's another one of those people who's turned into that as well, too. And again, just they had two super athletes back to back, and they weren't lying on that broadcast when they talked about Tanahashi trying to run this company and bring it out of the doldrums. He did do that. That is a fact. He did do that, and Okada has taken that torch and gone with it. We thought Ibushi would maybe be that next guy. That's a story still to be told, but that's the greatest part about this show. Was it great? No. And the only reason why is because compared to what they could put on together, it wasn't even good. They could put on a next one that is 10 times this, and then the next one 15 times this if everybody's healthy, if the politics don't get in the way. It was an awesome first step. And at the end of the day, that's what the whole thing was about. And I thought it was a win.
Yeah, I totally agree. I remember, talk about Tanahashi 3 years ago. G1 Climax started in Dallas, and so I was up there, and I'm up there with Cowboy Johnny Mantel, long time Texas legend, wrestled in Japan quite a bit, and we were having the press conference to kick it off, and Tanahashi comes in there, and Johnny raised his hand and said, "I'm Johnny Mantel, wrestled in Japan," and proceeded to tell Hiroshi Tanahashi that when it comes to the look and everything, he reminded him of Kerry Von Erich, and I never even crossed my mind, but now every time I see Tanahashi, I see the modern day warrior. I see Kerry.
I can see it.
It's crazy, but yeah.
It's just he's one of those people. You see some people, and it always feels like it's, again, there's like a light shining on them. You look at them and it looks like they're glowing, or there's just something about them that radiates. And that Kerry at that time, absolutely, because of the muscles. And again, he always looked like his hair was kind of blowing in the wind. And that's like Tanahashi, with God knows he uses enough hairspray sometimes to make it look like that. But he's got that same quality of, again, just the Fabio thing of the hair blown in the wind, and just the look and the whole 9 yards and the presence. And Kerry, I don't think knew he had that presence. He just was blessed with the look and everything. I don't know if he really knew. Tanahashi knows, especially, and if he didn't, he built it up throughout his career. And there were so many great veterans. Just in thinking about that too, where it's like you're thinking about Kingston and Cesaro back in the day in Ring of Honor and in Chikara, and like these guys who now, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible that there's some of them are still going, let alone Sting. It's kind of awesome.
It is really awesome. I get next pay-per-view is going to be All Out. We'll see what happens with that. And as we mentioned, Ring of Honor, Death Before Dishonor in July. Overall, like I said, and as we talked about, a great first step. I tell you what, let's put our fantasy booking hats on. Give me a main event for Forbidden Door 2.
Well, because I was going to say, well, it's got to be Omega against Ibushi, unless it's Omega and Ibushi. And Omega, you know what? I'm going to go all out here, because these two events seem to be close together anyway. And this Wednesday's Blood and Guts, right?
Right. It's fantasy booking.
Fantasy. That's all this is a fantasy.
That's right.
The Young Bucks did look the other way with Hangman Page defeating Kenny Omega, and Kenny's been gone. One thing about Hangman Page and his voyage through AEW is he's always going to have some trials and tribulations and inner things happening inside of him, but I can see maybe by next year, Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi, Golden Lover, standing there, but he's actually come back around again, and we have the Young Bucks and Adam Page and the Golden Lovers right there together. The five of them, enough people to be in a blood and guts match against, oh, I don't know, Chris Jericho, or no, I can't believe Chris. Did I just say Chris Jericho? That's, you know what? Point to Chris Jericho for poisoning my mind that much. But Bryan Danielson, John Moxley, Cesaro, keep doing that. Claudio again, Okada, and maybe Tanahashi. Who knows? I don't know what it would be, but you know what? That would be wacky enough. That's enough. That's a fantasy right there. I don't know how the hell any of that happens. And you know what? The more I think about it, that's not the match I want. I want either a tag match or a singles match out of the cage to be my main event. But the hell with it. Since I already said it, let's go with that. Blood and guts, some sort of mix up of all those guys.
Why not? Why not? I like it.
Champion versus champion, whoever it is, that would really be the one. And it would be interesting to see how you play that, because I don't think there's any fear of Tony not going back and doing the 60-minute draw or something like that. And I know some people would probably hate it. And for the most part now, nobody could do that. But if you had Okada and Page, or I mean, almost any combination, there's a lot of guys there that can go 60 minutes. And oh boy, that would be good. And one hell of a you-know-what tease to lead into Forbidden Door 3.
That's true. That's very true. He is Mike Sempervive. Catch him on Big Audio Nightmare, on the Mid-Atlantic Championship Podcast, and every day on Wrestling Observer Live with Brian Alvarez. Follow him on Twitter at Sempervive. Mike, man, I love this. I love talking to you. I anytime I can get you on, I have a blast. Thanks so much for giving me all your wisdom, man. All the best to you, and we'll talk again soon.
Absolutely, my man. Thank you.